Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's edition of Boredom Busters with Lincoln Children's Museum. Today is Thursday, May 7th, and today we are continuing with our theme of transportation. Yesterday, we talked about cars and trucks and heavy vehicles for construction, and today we are going to take to the water and think about boats. Now, we have some fun things linked for you today. We have a little treasure hunt, we have Kazoo, and we have a pirate. So Kazoo and Pirate Pete are both trying to get to the island where the X marks the spot of the treasure. Can you get Kazoo there before Pirate Pete? Follow along the lines with your fingers, have a race. All right, and we also have a song recommendation. This is from Storybots on Netflix Junior, and they are the captain of the boat. I'll give that song a listen, and I guarantee it will be stuck in your head for a while. Now, our book recommendation today is by Tony Mitten and Aunt Parker. It is called Brilliant Boats. It's a cute little story. Here you see we've got the little rabbit and his friend, and they are going off and checking out different boats. Now, boats are very big, and if you think about maybe bath time or in the pool, some things float and some things sink. Now, oftentimes we can say that something that is big will sink and something that is small will float. But really, there's a lot more to it than that, because boats can be some of the heaviest things that people build, and yet they float. And that has to do with the shape of the boat. So to learn a little bit about buoyancy and why those enormous ships can float, check out this video. Why do ships float? Now, we are going to do a couple of explorations today, hopefully with things that you all have in your homes. So first of all, we are going to make a newspaper boat. Now, this little instruction sheet comes from PBS Kids, and it is taken from the Curious George book. Now, I remember reading that one, and in that book, Curious George goes out into the town, and he folds himself a newspaper boat. Now, something that you may not know is that, in fact, newspapers have changed size over the years. These days, they're really narrow, actually. When I was growing up, and back when Curious George was written, newspapers were about this wide instead of this wide. So since the instructions are based on the old size of newspaper, we're going to have to adjust this a little bit. So if you have a copy of the Lincoln Journal-Star or another newspaper like that, you'll notice it should be about the same width as mine. Now, I'm not sure about some other little local papers. They might be a completely different size. Now, to make this one the right size, I'm going to remove about 6 inches. From here to here is about 6 inches. Now, since newspapers are recycled paper, they tear really easily. So I'm just going to fold it, crease it with my nail, turn it back, crease it with my nail again, and now I should be able to tear this off on the edge of the table. You can definitely use scissors if you are more comfortable using scissors, but the edge does not need to be perfect. So there we go. Now, you need to get your newspaper so that the fold is up at the top. And I do like to fold it in half so I know where the middle is. So just a gentle fold there. We don't need to crease it. So there's my middle point. And I'm going to fold down the corner so it meets that line right in the middle. And I'm going to fold down the other corner so that it is right in the middle. And now you see They meet right in the middle and they are the same length. Now, we need to fold up one of these sides right here. So go ahead, fold that up to the same spot. So it's right up there. Flip it over and fold that other side up. Now this part's a little bit tricky. There are a few of these moments in this instruction. So you need to open it up. So right now you have a hat and it would probably float, but we're gonna make it a little better. So pop out those sides and you need to tuck that corner, tuck that corner. Now I'm gonna press down the sides so it's nice and folded. All right, now you see we have a square. So with the open part down, fold it up. So this corner meets up here. Fold that one up, flip it over, and fold up that side. Now we have a triangle. Now, bring these two corners of your triangle together, and look at that. We have a square again. And now, for the final part here, you can see, if it's not too tight, you can see how it's starting to come apart right here. So now you want to fold these sides out. Keep it nice in there. It takes a little bit of time to get it right. And here is your very own version of Curious George's boat. And in the book, Curious George, if I remember correctly, he floats these boats down in where the water runs on the side of the road. Now you can use this boat, and let's check it out. Let's make sure it floats. There it is. So we've made it nice and thick, so it shouldn't soak through too quickly, but you can definitely play with these. Now, if you do float these outside maybe in Dead Man's Run or in the gutter, make sure that you pick up after yourself. All right, there's that boat. Now we're gonna make another kind of boat. We're going to use foil. Because this boat here, we noticed, it floats on top of the water. None of it is underwater. Do you see that? It's all on top, and it's still very light. So let's test and see how much weight we can get a foil boat to hold. Now, we have this great lesson plan. It's from Discover E, which stands for Discover Engineering. And even though it is written for 3rd through 5th grade, it is still so much fun, and you can learn a lot, and it's something that you can do no matter how old you are. So the first thing you need to do is decide what size of foil you're going to use. Now, I'm going to make my square. I'm going to go with this size. This looks good to me. Now, to make sure that it's a square, I'm going to fold up that side right there, because if this side is the same length as the side next door, it's going to be a square. All right, now I'm going to cut this here. And this is a fun thing to do. Go ahead, cut out lots of squares that are the same size so that you can make different shapes of boats. So first of all, let's test this. If we set this on the water, do you think it will sink or float? And there it is. It is floating. But now, let's take a look at this. What do you think will happen if I crumple it up? Will it still float or will it sink? Let's see. Oh, still floats. Now, the reason that it's still floating is because inside of that crinkle, there's still a lot of air. Now let's see if I can get it to sink. So we're gonna test this out. I'm gonna press this down, make it as tight as possible. Maybe I can get it to sink. Oh, it's still floating. So that's one piece of foil that I've used. I'm gonna use another piece here. I'm pretty good at just eyeballing that square, but you can definitely measure yours. Now, how many pennies do you think you can get to stay in your boat? Because that's an important part of boats. It's not just about getting the boat itself to float, but you need to make sure that the people or the cargo can stay afloat as well. So I'm going to use, I found this big jar of nuts and bolts. So let's see, without folding this at all, let's see how many I can get to keep this foil floating. Oh, there's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So far it's starting, oh, there it goes. It's starting to sink. So I got 20 on there before it started to sink. Now, do you think that I can change the shape of this foil so that it will hold before it sinks? Let's see. Now, when you do this at home, I recommend doing it outside because it can get pretty splashy and wet. I'm doing it inside, but I've got some towels with me here. Now I'm going to try making a bowl shape. Do you think I can hold as many in my bowl shape? There's a little bowl shape. Let's try that one. Four, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Ooh, it's floating around. And look, there's the 20 that I had on that flat piece, and it is not starting to sink yet, so we can definitely get more on there. So what shape works the best and can hold the most of your little weights that you're using, whatever it is that you're using, if it's pennies or little nuts, whatever it is, what shape holds the most? Now, if you're using a shallower bin like this one, you want to check sometimes from the side and make sure that it's not touching the bottom. So mine is still floating. Look at that, it's still about 1 inch up. And I'm just adding more here. Now you can count them as you add them, or once it sinks, count how many were in your boat when it sank. So have fun with this one. This is a really fun one that you can do over and over again with different shapes, different sizes of foil. Now, when boats get sick, Miss Katie.
Yes, Miss Greta?
Where do you take them so that they feel better?
I don't know, where?
You take them to the dock, as DOC is short for doctor, but DOCK is the name of where the boats get tied up so that they don't float away. Now, I hope everybody has been enjoying Read Aloud Lincoln story times that they're doing every day at 10 o'clock and many days at 9:30 as well. So check out their Facebook page for Read Aloud Lincoln and see when your favorite librarian will be reading you a story. Everybody, our spring houses still, and they are a fun whole family. You get a cardboard house, some frosting, various cereals to decorate, and you can even go outside, find some little rocks, find some moss, and add to it to make it look more like a fairy house. I hope to see everybody tomorrow when we continue our transportation theme. Tomorrow we are going to be thinking about airplanes. Have a nice day, everybody. See y'all tomorrow.